Hello, and a very good afternoon to you, fellow business analysts from wherever you're joining in the world. Welcome. My name is Mark Bruins. I'm the founder and owner of BA Masterminds. Today, we've got a very special guest with us. His name is Mark Cross, based in the United Kingdom, and he won the Assist KD Business Analyst of the Year last year, 2025. Let's start by bringing him on the screen and saying hello to Mark. Mark, why don't you say a few words to greet everybody?
Hi, Mark. Pleasure to be here, and welcome everybody. It's great that you can join us today. So I'm really proud to be here today. This is a subject which I'm really excited about. So I hope that you all get something really interesting out of what we prepared today.
Wonderful, brilliant. Okay, so we have tried to keep the amount of slides down to bring more the human element, more the conversation into it. There are a few slides that we're going through. Please stay until the end because we got a very special, let's say we got a very special offer for the end. So if you could perhaps type in the comment section what you'd like to get out of this event. We do have, if you're interested in cybersecurity, if you're a business analyst, what your job title is, perhaps put something in the comments. I can read the comments. I can share the comments on the screen. And basically at the end of the session, we are going to have a Q&A. So you can actually ask myself, or you can ask Mark, anything that you like. So let's start by getting some questions, some comments on the screen. We will share them. It's going to be kind of like a first come, first served basis, where the first person to ask a comment will, ask a question. We're going to put that on the screen and we'll take it from there. Let's just have a look. It says something can't post comments on. Okay, that's fine. All right. So if somebody could make a comment and then we could see that we're up and running and we're live and things are going fine, then let's start. Okay, so let me first explain where I met Mark. So basically what I do is I mentor business analysts to find suitable high-paying jobs. So basically if you want to earn more money, either through a promotion or securing another job, I help business analysts pivot as well. And basically, I don't teach business analysis, but what I do teach is that there's 8 focus points that you need to consider when securing your next role. And one of the focus points, once you're a generalist business analyst, is to specialize, is to find an area of speciality. So one of the areas of speciality is cybersecurity. So you could be a senior business analyst specializing in cybersecurity, or you can specialize in AI, or you can specialize in data. But today, that's why I form strategic alliance partners with people like Mark Cross, because he is the expert in cybersecurity. So what we do then is we say, all right, if you want to do business analysis and specialize in cybersecurity, then you can link with one of our strategic alliance partners, in this case, Envista Consulting, that is Mark's company. And then he can then teach you his curriculum of cybersecurity, because you need 2 things. You need theoretical knowledge and practical experience. So theoretical knowledge you gain by following a course. All right. So let's go through, and maybe Mark can give a little bit of, let's say where I met Mark then. So basically I reached out to Mark on LinkedIn. I said, let's connect. And then we were both speakers in May this year at BA and Beyond in Belgium. So that's where I met Mark. He had a talk there, and I was an international speaker there as well. So Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So yes, so I've been working in IT transformation now for about 25 years. I know I don't look like I've been around that long, but I started off working as a network engineer for one of the UK's leading telecommunications organizations. Then I moved over to New Zealand, spent 8 years there working on building out data centers and their service improvement program. And that's where I transitioned into business analysis. So I've been a business analyst now for about 15 years, worked in all kinds of areas. I'm going to tell you more about this in my presentation. But increasingly, the area that I've been finding myself drawn towards has been cybersecurity. And now I'm very much in the realm of helping other people to understand how they can apply these skills in their own workplace, in their own career.
Brilliant. That's a lovely introduction. Yes, we are going to do some slides, and Mark will go through a bit of his background, share a few credentials of himself. But yeah, thank you. I see that the comments are working. People are in the comment section. Tell us where you're joining from. Tell us if you're a business analyst. Tell us if you want to become a business analyst. What do you hope to get out of this call? Do you know anything about cybersecurity? And as Mark goes through the different slides, then perhaps you've got a question. So as you've got a question for either one of us, type it in the comments. It's not a case of that we're going to wait right until the end. If there's a relevant question after one of Mark's slides, and I can always put it on the screen there, but otherwise we'll leave them to the end. All right. So without further ado, let's get the first slide going. And over to you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Mark. So cyber is everywhere. I don't think you can hardly pick up a newspaper without seeing a new headline. It just kind of feels like it's become part of daily life. And I think what I wanted to do to start off this talk is to just unpick the reality of this. One of the things that I find really concerning, one of the things that I find comes up time and time again, is that very often when we are thinking about cybersecurity, either ourselves or our stakeholders will often go from a state of thinking cybersecurity is this thing that it's probably not going to affect us. It's something that is probably important. I don't really know what to do with, but yeah, we can brush it aside, keep that in the future. And then all of a sudden, it actually becomes real. It becomes part of our lives. Something happens unexpectedly that makes it our problem, and we don't know what to do with it. Now, I see my own mission in life as to try and demystify this, try and share these ideas about all of the straightforward, simple things that we can do in order to be able to prepare for this more effectively, to demonstrate leadership within our program teams, so that we are able to actually make a difference. We can change the calculus so that we can reduce our organization's exposure to risk and make things within our program teams run more smoothly in the process. I think my biggest belief here is that security and capability are not, they're not mutually exclusive. When you do the job properly, when you understand what's going on, these two things go hand in hand, and you can deliver both of them very effectively. And that's one of those things that can make us as business analysts stand out. So we've got a really interesting lineup here today. So going into the framework, I've broken it up into 5 sections. So firstly, sort of, we've covered what cyber threats are. I'm going to talk about my journey into cybersecurity. I'm going to, Mark, could you advance the slide, please? We're going to talk about my journey into cybersecurity. We're going to look at the 4 forces changing the role of the business analysis profession. We're going to talk about 3 different careers, maybe not so much scenarios, but pathways, so we can explore what matters to you and how you can get the most out of the information that I'm sharing today. And finally, we're going to dive into those very special offers that I'm making today. So let's go into who I am, where I've come from. So I like to say that most people with a career in business analysis, their career trajectory is not a straight line. Usually, when you go into business analysis, you bring in your own experience and your own perspectives from wherever you've come from. And whether your background is that you've sort of worked in a store somewhere and you understand the logistics, or whether you've worked developing software and you are bringing in that kind of experience, all of this is really relevant to the business analysis profession. So my own background, as I mentioned earlier, I started off in network operations. I was that guy that you see in sort of movies, sitting in a chair with a full wall of television screens with maps and networks and flashing red lights all over the place, trying to keep the lights on and the networks humming in pleasing ways. From there, I went to helping some very large network organizations to build out and manage their networks. I have done projects like working on New Zealand's very first 4G mobile network. I was working on building out their international capacity. When I went to New Zealand about 20 years ago, there are only a couple of submarine cables providing network capacity to the entire country. The entire network capacity was the same volume as they had in Papua New Guinea. So it was a huge project, building out more capacity in that organization and helping New Zealand to become a digital first country. So going from that, I worked on a whole range of other kinds of business analysis projects, helping organizations for many different industry migrate to the cloud, realize all the benefits that go with that. Remote working, scalability, increased visibility, increased availability of services and reduced cost, and all of those efficiencies. So that was a phenomenal piece of work to be involved in. All of a sudden, didn't matter where you were in the world, whether you were sat at your desk at head office or whether you were working on a beach somewhere else, you had equal access to all of the organization's resources and all of the capabilities and tools that were provided to you. Now, with that rise of cloud, there was also another thing happening at the same time. So when I started working in IT and transformation, I think it's fair to say we were feeling like we were in a relatively safe world. Yes, there were occasional cybersecurity incidents. I remember one of the very first things I experienced in my first year in that network operations job was a incident called the Code Red Worm, where a bunch of hackers developed this worm that was designed to take over web servers around the world and attack the White House. I was being involved in this organization in operations. I was on duty when this started to get colorful. I was only a very small part of the response. This was happening all over the world, but it certainly shaped my perspective of what it's like to be there in that seat when everything's going down. And effectively, more and more and more over the course of the years that followed, this was coming onto the roadmaps of boards and project teams all around the world. An unfortunate consequence of moving systems to the cloud was that geography disappeared. In just the same way that your employees and your customers no longer had to be sort of in the same building or the same town as you, the attacks could come from anywhere. The cloud was this huge amplifier that meant that in order to be able to provide these services globally, you also needed to be able to find ways of picking out who you actually wanted to have access to your services, and make sure that you understood what was going on at all times and were able to control. So it created some interesting complications. And if you go on to the next slide, one of the things that I realized very early on in this transition is that cybersecurity had always been there in my career. It was always in the background. And so when this became more and more important, it gave me an opportunity to sort of rise to that challenge and be able to be the person helping the project teams I was on understand what was actually what the implications of what they were delivering before they exposed themselves to unacceptable risks. So when I realized that actually through this strange little career journey that I'd undertaken, that this had prepared me for something that most other business analysts didn't actually have the opportunity to enjoy, I kind of felt that I had this mission to get out there and help to share these perspectives, these insights, so that other people didn't have to learn the hard way. They didn't have to feel excluded if they hadn't spent years working on incident response somewhere. They didn't have to feel that they had to go through the steep learning curve of cybersecurity. Can touch on absolutely every aspect of technology if you wanted to, but it doesn't have to. I felt that my mission was basically to help guide other business analysts with an interest in making their organizations safer, to help them understand what they needed to know upfront to be more effective, be more strategic, and that way we were able to make more of an impact. So as a result, I've been traveling all around the world. I've been conducting research for organizations like the IRBA and for the UK Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge. I've been attending conferences. I've been interviewing subject matter experts from all around the world. I've got a slide with some of the all the different places that I've been. I've been to Belgium. I've been to Orlando for the North American conference. I've been to Melbourne, Australia for the CyberCon, which is the largest cybersecurity conference in the Southern Hemisphere. I've been to multiple conferences in Europe. I'm not a natural speaker. I don't seek out the limelight, but at the end of the day, these are the places that I go in order to be around the people who are asking the important questions, who need this information, and finding out what's actually happening around the world, what are the questions, what are the issues, and that way I can best shape a response to those and help people to get access to the information that they need the most. So one of the things that I've picked up on my travels is that there are four key forces that are applying here in the space that we occupy. So the first one here is delivering change effectively. This is, in a nutshell, the bread and butter of being a business analyst. So delivering change. But beyond change, we also talk about embracing new technologies and bringing new capabilities into our organizations that haven't been tested before. So we also are involved in innovation. But delivering change and innovation is no good if it brings unacceptable risks with it. So we're also involved with working with our senior stakeholders, helping them to understand when they have an idea or there's something new that they want to bring to the organization. We help them to understand what that actually means. We can do the research. We can find out what our competitors are doing. We can help seeing what trends that we're seeing in the industry, and do the research to understand how we can deliver that in a way that manages the enterprise risk. And of course, as any professional know, you always gives thought to what does that mean for you as well in your career, because a business analysis is a fantastic profession to be in. It brings together lots of different skill sets. It's a hugely transformative role. I'll be honest, with a lot of the big transformations out there, a lot of the time, the work that we do isn't the one that sort of wins the awards and gets the flashy celebration. But when you actually look and you see everything coming together, it is tremendously satisfying to realize that actually I was the person who did all of the basically, I paved the road that all of these other people followed in order to get the project to where it needed to be, which is really quite a special place to be. So let's dive into each of these areas in a little bit more detail. So let's start with change. So when we deliver any kind of project, we tend to go through this life cycle. It doesn't happen in one go. So in my teachings, I like to talk about it in terms of 4 key stages. So the first one is discovery, second one is development, third one is delivery, where it goes out there into the world, and the final one is when this thing is in service and you're actually sort of reaping the rewards of whatever is built. But in order to be able to get from one stage to the next, can you have the next slide, please, Mark? When you want to get from the next stage to the next, from one stage to the next, there are various things that can hold you back. And one of the things that is really problematic is when you have silos building up between stakeholders. And sometimes this is a case of it's not my problem, it's their problem. In other times, it's more a case of withheld wisdom. So something is so complicated, it has to be this other person who does it. I can't do it for them, so we need them to do it. And so sometimes there's a little bit of sort of defensiveness happening in teams. They like to secure their own position by having these moats of knowledge, but that doesn't support project outcomes. As business analysts, I feel that one of the most important things that we can do is we're that glue in the middle of the equation. We are the translators. We help to be able to pool the knowledge and wisdom the project requires, and we can interpret what one audience knows for another. So we can go between the senior stakeholders who have the strategy and vision in their head, and we can go and we can help to communicate the technical constraints to that they're working between, to help them understand what's the art of the possible. And then likewise, we might be speaking to end customers, end users, understanding what their perceptions are, and then bring that back to the testing team, so we can get an understanding of how this is all coming along. Cybersecurity is just one of those areas where everything that the more you know about the cybersecurity concept, the more you can articulate, the more you can evaluate the risk, the better things flow, the more smoothly things flow. You can work out when you need to get those stakeholders in early. You can ask them better quality questions, because these people are busy as heck. They're dealing with security patches, they're dealing with incidents, they're dealing with developing new policies, they're doing all kinds of things. Their attention is often being split through 100 different times. If you can go there and you can be the person who says, I'm going to ask you the meaningful questions up front, I'm not going to waste your time, you're going to get a quick response. Whereas if you're the person who basically invites them into a meeting room and say, okay, I've got a project, what do I need to know? They're going to sort of want to put whiskey in their coffee and put off the next meeting with you. So basically, this is a great opportunity for you to be cyber's best friend, and by being the person who solves these problems for the project, you can make yourself even more important. So that's the first one. So the next thing, we're going to talk a little bit about innovation next. So innovation takes many different. Enterprise risk. Sorry. The reason why we need to cover enterprise risk is because it's very easy to think that when things go wrong, it's just about the technology. It's just a server that's gone down for a few minutes, or it's things are running a little bit slowly. That's okay. That's not a big issue. But in actual fact, there's all kinds of other knock-on effects that this has that can multiply. So disrupted in services, delayed delivery, reduced resilience, all of those things are affecting your ability to operate. There's going to be dependencies on that. It might be a small inconvenience for a particular team, but for the teams downstream who were needing that to be available at a particular time, that can be hugely important. Financial impact. Again, it's not just a service that's down for a few minutes. About a year ago, there was a service interruption where an organization called CrowdStrike rolled out a patch which caused computers to lock up. 8 million computers locked up as a result. It's the world's largest individual service outage. But what did that mean? That meant flights were delayed, so operations were cancelled or rescheduled. For the people who were actually directly impacted by that, that was absolutely immense. And that was fundamentally completely avoidable. It was, if testing on that update had been done properly, it didn't need to happen. And so this is an opportunity where we can, by documenting the proper quality checks, we could have made a difference there. And finally, there's reputational impact, because whenever these unexpected things happen, you damage customer trust, there could be negative publicity, and that impacts your stakeholder confidence. So now we are going to go to innovation. This is all the exciting stuff. This is the stuff that everyone wants to jump on board. As organizations evolve, adopt new technologies, it's really important to have the mechanisms and governance in place to make sure it's done properly. There's enough uncertainty happening here that we need to make sure that we understand how this is going to interact with what we've already got out there. So, for example, with AI, you need to understand how decisions are made and how they stitch together. If one AI model makes the wrong decision, then the next one might interpret what they say is blindly, and the impact snowballs over multiple passes because there isn't a human applying that common sense assessment to that. And by following instructions blindly, this can cause mistakes and issues to explode. So that's why we need people like us to actually understand this technology, put in the requirements to actually apply appropriate controls and safeguards and policies so that we understand when it's deviating from unexpected behavior. And that way, our organization can see the benefits that this capability is delivering without sacrificing the reliability that our organization is based on. So let's go into the final area. And this is probably the one that you're most interested in. Let's talk about ourselves, our career directions, and what this means for us. So I'm going to explore this in 3 areas. The first one is for people who want to become indispensable where you are. The second one is to look at what happens when we want to move towards cybersecurity, which is a fascinating. There's no room for boredom in cybersecurity. It's something that's always moving on. It's always evolving. There's always something new to learn. It's one of these evergreen, very exciting fields that provides lots of interest. And finally, if you're the sort of person who wants to know how you can actually not just move sideways, but move upwards towards a more influential leadership role, I've got something for you there as well. So becoming indispensable. There's many things that we do as a business analyst where we add value, and this is considered at the central to what we do as business analysts. So let me just give you a few examples. Strategy analysis, stakeholder management, data analysis, solution validation, process modeling, and requirement solicitation. All of these things help a change team to better understand what it is that we're doing. It helps to marshal resources. It helps you to understand how you're making progress towards the desired outcome, to make sure that you can realize the intended benefits at the other end without taking any unnecessary risk. That's the day job. That is the heart of what we do as business analysts. Can we just skip on again, please, Mark? But there's another level behind this where we can add even more value. And this is what I'm focused on today. So we can also go one layer deeper. And in this next level, Mark, can you just tick forward? And in this next level, there's all sorts of other bonuses that we can add to our skill set that sets us apart and differentiates us from the other business analysts. And this is when we are able to do things like manage risk, maintain quality, control access, build resilience, deliver assurance, protect privacy. And all of these things, this is what takes you from being the vanilla business analyst to being that special business analyst where you're a leader, an influencer, a key part of the machine that are doing things that the organization might not even realize was a problem. Yet there you are, you're taking the first steps, and you're solving these issues before they even become issues. This is the work. This is something that I take great pride in being able to help my organization in this way. So that is how we can take our work as business analysts and make ourselves indispensable. But what if you're already a business analyst and you're thinking about how you can apply your skills in new areas? There's several ways that we can do that as well, and I've got a slide for that. So firstly, you may want to stick around in change, which is a great area to be in. Cybersecurity business analysis, very important. This is effectively the role within a change team. You go in there, you triage, you help to understand what it is that people are trying to build, evaluate the risks, get the project started off the right way, make sure the right stakeholders are engaged at the right point. You help to vet third parties that you're bringing on board to make sure that the key suppliers are right for your organization. Data and AI enablement. This is understanding how to be able to bring in those new technologies and do them right first time. So this is going to be more and more important. So when we talk about things like AI governance, we talk a lot about things like having the right kind of fire breaks in these processes, have the right guardrails to make sure that it behaves in expected ways. That's the kind of work that we're doing here, and it's basically doing what we do today, only a little bit more specialized. Working in cybersecurity governance, this is a slightly more technical role, say more specialized area, but it builds on a lot of the business analysis skill sets that we have, and helps you to specialize in niches that are a little bit rarer. And it helps you to sort of make yourself that unicorn in particular areas where you have knowledge in these areas that other people don't have. So things like data privacy and governance, so making sure that an organization's data, and particularly the information that you hold on its customers, are kept where it should be. Identity and access management, so this is making sure that everyone has the right permissions and not more, to make sure that everything flows smoothly. People don't have to keep on asking for elevations to their privileges, but at the same time, they don't have things that could be a liability to the organization because they don't really need it anymore. And if their account is ever compromised, that could be a problem. And governance, risk, and compliance, that's a really fascinating area that brings a little bit of all of that together, where you're helping the organization to constantly keep a track of their exposure to risk in different areas and developing all the policies and procedures and measures necessary to be able to keep that under control. And If you're really interested in going down the rabbit hole, you can look at things like incident response, security testing, and threat intelligence. I'm not pushing technology today. That is where you want to go deep. It is an option, but it's probably only for the most passionate people in the room. So finally, at the center of this diagram, we've got this other role called BISO. So the BISO is a newly evolving role, and this, if I sort of describe some of the areas, we've got this diagram with these 4 boxes. I'd like you to look at these and see if you recognize what's going on here. So what is a BISO responsible for? A BISO is a trusted advisor who helps to communicate business value, specifically the value of cybersecurity, to stakeholders. The BISO is responsible for overseeing the quality, relevance, and completeness of their requirements. The BISO is responsible for helping to shape business cases and develop organizational strategy. And finally, they're responsible for influencing culture and facilitate collaboration across teams. So although this is a relatively young profession, it's less than 10 years old, but it's becoming increasingly common, both in the United States, UK, and overseas. These people are basically the glue between cybersecurity change teams and change teams and cybersecurity teams. We're the people who facilitate on an organizational level all of the collaboration between both sides. And can we just advance the slide, please, Mark? And when you look at these 4 different areas, just think about the overlap between that and business analysis. I've been around the world. I actually spoke at the Festival of Business Analysis on this very topic. I think that the business analysis role and the skills and mindset that we bring makes every business analyst a perfect candidate for moving towards the BISO role, reporting directly into the Chief Information Security Officer, and demonstrating a highly influential leadership role between these different areas. And I would love to see more and more business analysts taking these steps and getting the profile and influence that they so richly deserve. So I've been making the case here for why business analysts already have this huge opportunity to have impact simply by being able to embrace cybersecurity and being able to apply those skills in this new context. So the next question I'm sure you have is, how can we take the first step? How can we get started with this? And I'm very happy to offer a few free tools that will get you started on your way. So firstly, in my other hat, I'm the founder and European chair of the IRBA Cybersecurity Special Interest Group. So if you're part of the IRBA, you automatically get access to a range of really useful benefits. We run educational events, networking activities. We have sessions that are led by industry experts talking about delivering masterclasses and deep dives into all of the most important topics of the day. All you need to do is just pop to our website. There's the link at the bottom there, or you can connect with us on LinkedIn and join the community. Find out what's going on. We've got some great things coming up. We had a session on the cybersecurity body of knowledge yesterday. We've got a networking activity next week, and in August we've got a expert insights session from a chief AI officer who's going to be talking about the safe implementation of AI. Lots of great stuff. Through my own enterprise, Envista Consulting, we've got some really exciting things coming down the line as well. Starting from the 10th of August, we're going to be launching our new entry-level courses, which are completely free for anybody. They're available to you sign up for first access now. There's a link in the comments and at the bottom of that page there. So we've got 2 free e-learning courses which you can take. The first one is Quick Start Cyber, which is a practical introduction to why cybersecurity matters to us. So that's really good if you want to be able to explain to your stakeholders how these skills will enable you to have a bigger impact. It gives you that context. And the next one is Next Level Cyber. So when you feel that you're ready to make the next step, take the next step, this is a career-focused series of learning sessions where we'll explore all the different directions you may want to take to help you try them on and get an idea of what will be right for you. And we also got a very special promotion. So our flagship course is the Foundation in Cybersecurity for change practitioners. We are very happy to offer a promotional rate for BA Masterminds. Normally, the rate for this course is £12.95 plus VAT pounds. The early bird rate for this is usually £9.95, but for the BA Masterminds, we're offering a special rate, saving another £100. So the offer price will be £8.95 plus tax for the rest of the year. Now, this is a really nice course. It's a 2-day course. It has been accredited by the IIBA. So if you want to take this course, you automatically qualify for professional development points towards your existing accreditations. Foundation Cybersecurity is a role to help you understand how you can interact with cybersecurity teams, how you can deliver value beyond that of a regular business analyst, and how you can improve relationships with stakeholders and properly assess risk. So if you want to find out more, please feel free to either ask a question within the call, connect with us on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have on that. So thank you very much for listening. I'd love to answer your questions now if there's anything you'd love to ask.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Mark. I struggled to keep quiet, but it was very easy because you talked so much sense. It's good. I really enjoyed it. I even learned a few things as well. And while you were talking, I was going on my mobile phone to see when I actually touched on this. So it was before my business analysis days. In 1999, I was working for a division of British oxygen company called Afrox, African Oxygen. And there I rolled out antivirus. So antivirus, I guess, was where this all started. So people know that Windows computers, people don't like Bill Gates, so they give it viruses. Everybody likes Apple, so there's no viruses on Apple. But that's kind of where it started, with these viruses and people, writing viruses on your computer with a blue screen and things like that. And that's actually snowballed now into cybersecurity. Or tell us a little bit about the evolution, how it went, how this all came about.
So that's a really interesting. So I think cybersecurity is. So there's 2 things at play here. I mean, obviously, the protection of information in some form or another has always been part of this. I think really that you can probably trace this back at least as far as the early days of the internet, when it was a case that the technology was so bespoke, so controlled, that it was almost impossible. If you're going to breach something, you almost had to be an insider to do that. As a result, at that point, everything was very obscure. But in the 80s and 90s, as all of a sudden people started to get modems, more people were getting computers, more people were learning these skills, at that point, all of a sudden, this started to explode from being an academic curiosity to being a business necessity. And back in those days, we were still calling it information security because people still had this idea that this was an asset that you had in your office. And if you built a big enough wall made out of bricks, steel, and firewalls, you're going to keep it safe. I think that kind of broke down around the time that the cloud started to become popular. And I think that was also around the time that information security started to get rebranded as cybersecurity. And that was really a reflection of all of the different use cases that were taking place at the time. So in the same way that cloud was making all sorts of other things possible, is meaning that these punky little startups with a dozen young sort of university dropouts all of a sudden having billion-dollar companies because they could scale without having to bought the equipment themselves. In the same way, the bad guys were also adopting these technologies. They were building out this cybersecurity as a service model where they were developing all of the malware and making it available to others. And so with these kind of patterns happening, all of a sudden we needed to rethink what information security was. We had to rethink that it wasn't just what was happening inside our walls; it was happening outside as well. It wasn't just a case of we've got the good guys and the bad guys, because to be quite honest, if there's a bad guy who's hijacking one of your customers' computers, you don't actually know who the good guys are and the bad guys. So all of a sudden, cybersecurity became this thing where it was understanding in these rapidly evolving contexts what was normal behavior and what was bad behavior, and how you could actually manage all of these very, very fluid situations.
Yes, correct. So yes, it started in the 80s and the 90s. And then basically, I'm sure everybody that's watching now knows somebody or has themselves been affected by this, either had your data stolen or something like that. And as we showed in the first slide, I'm just going to go back to that slide again. Jaguar Land Rover, I think, 2 billion, correct. They lost 2 billion. They are still suffering at the moment. So this is something that's not going to ever go away. I know that now as well, because I follow the news, I follow these the wars that are going on in different parts of the world. And I know that these countries are using, like North Korea and Russia and Iran, they are using cyber warfare to attack countries and everything like that. So it's not going to go away ever. So basically what happens is, in the antivirus world, you'd put an antivirus on your computer, the next day a new virus would come along. They'd have to update the virus signature database to protect against that virus. The next day another antivirus will come along. And I suppose it's the same, Mark, with cybersecurity. You can only protect according to what's happening today and in the past, but these people break that, and then the next day they found a loophole somewhere. So it's a never-ending story, cat chasing the mouse.
Yeah, so that's a really important point you've raised there. I think you need to know who you're up against. One of the really biggest misperceptions that are out there at the moment is that this idea that the people we're up against is some guy wearing a hoodie in a dark basement. I really, really want to make sure that we can dispel that myth completely. That's not who we're up against. We are generally up against people who are very, very organized. A lot of these people wear suits and ties. Some of them are teenagers who have just downloaded very sophisticated tool sets that have been developed by technical experts and are able to redeploy them. There are thousands of people like that out there. So small armies of people, any of whom could seize an opportunity to come against your organization. And then you've got the geopolitical entities. Some of them are doing this for political reasons. Some of them are doing this for purely economic reasons. You mentioned North Korea. North Korea is widely known as the world's largest cyber crime syndicate. They are basically out there to steal money directly or steal credentials which they can use to commit fraud. That's what they do. And the other side of things is, it's not just about brute force and scale. AI has irreversibly changed this game. So when you're talking about these malware detectors that are based on patterns, looking for something that looks like a piece of malware, that's broke. That model's broken now. You have AI tools who can craft individual malware that is designed to be invisible to the pattern scanning of individual malware detection tools. You have got phishing services that craft emails that match the voice of specific people who are asking specific questions about specific jobs. So if you're looking for one of those Nigerian prince scams where they're asking for money to get out of jail or something like that, those kind of templated emails, we've always been able to identify those and block those. But what we're getting these days is a new order of magnitude, more bespoke, more personalized, more sophisticated. And really the only way to be able to mitigate against these are really advanced AI tools that actually understand the context and are able to pick up on cues that human users, especially if you're tired or busy or overworked or you get a lot of email, it's very hard for us to have that level of diligence and awareness all the time. So we're going to be relying more and more on AI to be able to spot those warning signs going forward. And so we need to have the skills to be able to make sure that can put those capabilities into our organization.
Quite right. So just a little bit back to business analysis.
Oh, sorry, yes.
And the advent of AI. So a lot of people are saying, AI is going to take our job, and is a business analyst job still safe and things like that. So if you plan your career correctly, and we've got a really good assignment called the 8 focus points, where you look at all different areas of your career. So to steer your ship in the right direction, because you shouldn't look at your current job or your next job. You should plan at least a year in advance. Where do you want to be in your dream role in a year from now? And then ideally you choose your job title, your sector, your niche, which domain you want to work in. If you want to be a contractor or a permanent member of staff or a consultant, there's all these things that you focus on. But ideally, if you want to be a business analyst, the future is really good, because you only need 2 things as far as careers goes, and that's theoretical knowledge and practical experience. Now, I know that you're highly certified with the IIBA as far as business analysis goes. I've also got my 4 certificates in business analysis from the BCS in 2015 and 2016. So that's the first thing that you need in your career path, is that theoretical knowledge: what to do, why to do it, how to do it, the tools, techniques, templates, methods, all these things. But then you also need to go and get practical experience. You can't just come out of university and hope to land a job. So you need theoretical knowledge and practical experience. And then over a period of maybe 2, 3, 4 years, you progress from being a business analyst to being a senior business analyst. Now, when you're a senior business analyst or a generalist, it's best to go and specialize in something so that you're consistently headhunted for your education, knowledge, skills, and experience. So in a case of spreading out, where can you choose your niche within business analysis? You can go into anything. You can go into data or AI or cybersecurity. That's what we're talking about. And 2 things to specialize as a senior business analyst in cybersecurity: again, theoretical knowledge, practical experience. So a person like Mark Cross, a company like Envista, with all the credentials and authority, it's good to go and sign up for their free course. See if you like it, see where it takes you, dip your toes into the water if you're not used to it, because you're in that process of deciding what your 1-year niche should be. And if you don't like it, go and look at AI, go and look at data, go and look at process improvement, Lean Six Sigma, Oracle, SAP, Salesforce. They're all out there. Try and specialize in something, because that's going to keep you, market ready and in the market, and make you indispensable. And you don't want to go and look at the advertised job market for your next role. You want to be headhunted, or you want to tap into the hidden job market, those jobs that aren't advertised through people that you know and worked with before. So I thank you very much, Mark, for coming on here. If you are watching the recording, and most people are watching the recording, you can still ask questions. You can still put comments in there. My valued assistant, Petra, she goes and has a look every day and sees and lets me know if I need to reply to anybody. If there's a question for Mark, we'll forward it on to Mark, but reach out to him on LinkedIn, send him a connection request. Just say the word BAM, BA Masterminds or something like that. He'll know where you've come from and where you've seen him. He'll accept your connection request. start having conversations, go to the website, learn about Mark and his company Envista and about the products and services that he offers. And if you've got any questions, we'd be glad to answer them at any time. So as a final word of thank you, Mark, over to you, and just a final thought for you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. So yeah, I think that the most important thing that I'd like to share is that cybersecurity is one of those things that is right at the center of modern life. It keeps everything flowing and helps us to build trust within our teams. And I think it's really important to remember that there are two sides to this coin. When you talk about business analysis, there are the business analysts in cybersecurity, and those are the ones who have chosen that they want to make that their own calling, and there's the ones who are really interested and specialize in that. But there's also the cybersecurity in business analysis, and that's something that every single business analyst does in every day, whether they realize it or not. Understanding about how to spot risks before they've happened. It's about understanding when you're developing a sort of a use case for somebody, how could this be used by somebody who's not the intended audience? And all of this kind of mindset helps you to develop output that is more resilient, more robust, higher quality. And that's something we can all do. You don't have to go all the way in for this to have a transformative impact. And so I'd encourage every single business analyst to choose how far you want to take this. It's something that's really worth sort of having a look at, getting to understand. And if it's for you, you can go all the way. And if it's not for you, just make sure that you understand what you need in order to do your job to the best of your ability.
Sounds like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So that's what we're saying. All the resources are out here. Tip something in the water, see if you like it, because ideally, you'd want to secure your dream role. There's enough people around the world that hate their jobs. So you want to craft and develop your own career to secure your dream role. And if that includes business analysis and having cybersecurity as your niche, then you're in the right place. All right. Thank you very much again, Mark. It's been a pleasure having you on our show, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.